And we're rolling?
We're rolling.
Sweet. We are back on the podcast, and for the third time in SANDCAST history, we have a set of twins on the show. First ones to make it were the Witt sisters. Can you guys guess number two?
McNamara.
Was it the McNamara
twins.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And if you don't recognize the voices, we have Audrey and Nicole Nourse in the studio. Glad to have you guys. Welcome aboard.
It's good to be here.
Thanks so much for having us. We've been looking forward to this. It's been months in the making. So
Yeah. It's funny because when we first started the show, I was always in like such a hurry to get the guests on, but it's like it just happens in its own time. All its own. Everyone's like, oh, like it'll just take a couple months to get together, and then when it happens, and it's great. And so for both the listeners and the viewers, can you guys just say who is who? And so the listeners and the viewers know.
I'm Audrey.
And I'm Nicole.
Okay. And so
I'm wearing green today, so
That'll be
that's how you tell.
And then on the court, Nicole's lefty?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
we always
that's
tell
the way
people,
I tell when I watch you guys play.
Yeah,
it's funny because Nicole McNamara is also the lefty of those two.
Weird. We always tell people there's an L in Nicole and an R in Audrey.
Okay.
Randomly it worked out, so that kind of helps.
Parents planned it
initially.
Yeah.
People can figure it out that way, but yeah.
That's you guys are like you and the Max. It's so funny how it worked out perfect as a beach volleyball team. Like you have a lefty and a righty. You're both really good ball control players.
Yeah, really.
Like you can't ask for a whole lot more than that.
I know we were really, really blessed. I think, it's funny. We grew up playing a lot of sports. And my kind of second sport to volleyball was soccer, and Nicole's second sport to volleyball was basketball. And when we were trying to make the decision between the two, we really did love our respective sports. But ultimately we chose beach volleyball in the end just because we loved to play with each other, and we didn't have to rely on anyone else on the field or court but each other. So that was a big motivating factor. But yeah, I'd say it's worked out pretty well, and genetically just being right and left-handed.
Right.
It
seems like siblings really struggle to play with each other unless they're twins. Then it's like the opposite. Like they prefer to play together. Right? Have you
it could be an age thing.
For sure.
It's not easy though. That's the thing. Like we have to work on our relationship is so unique on the court, and it's something that we have to work on almost pretty much weekly. Something always comes up. Literally, there's never going to be something that doesn't come up down the line. So yeah, you have to stick it out. It's really hard, but we think it's worth it, obviously.
For sure.
Yeah.
Dane probably does too.
Yeah.
Luckily we've
thankfully
stuck together.
Yeah, he does. I mean, it's the sport's shifting, definitely. I think we came in at the right time. I think college is just the sport in general. It's getting a lot bigger. You don't really see split blocking at all anymore. So we're just thankful that we get to do it. We get to do it together.
Yeah, the game has shifted so much just in the short time that I've been a part of it. Because when I started playing, like my first main draw in the AVP was 2018, and the game was just getting enormous. But then the guy side is now having the opposite effect, where it's getting smaller and faster. Until you get like the unicorns, like an Anders, who's both huge and fast, and like an Andy Benish, who's huge and like mobile enough. But then I feel like you guys are sort of like you just stayed your same, and now you're like the cutting edge where you're like fast, mobile, good ball control. Like you run a fun offense. Like I feel like you guys are, like you said, you have perfect timing in the college game right now.
Yeah, we're definitely trying to, like you said, the game is changing a lot, and I think what we're starting to see a lot more is like spread sets, options. Miles and his partner Andy, like obviously they're really setting the pace there. And you're seeing every team pretty much do it. And that's one Swedish pair, right? They're like watching them is super fun, and it's kind of inspiring for us because, to get to that next level, we've got to have some type of edge. Just given our height, we're about 5'11", but going up against a 6'4" block, that's pretty massive. But we got to have some type of edge. So we've been trying to play with the jump setting, and we've always done spread sets just because since we were 12, we've been hand setting. That's kind of something that we've always done. And I think that's the best part of our game. So we're trying to, we don't have the vertical that male players have, but but we're trying to work on that a little bit, which is exciting. It's really exciting. A lot of trial and error. A lot of error right now, but it's getting better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The teams that have, seems like the teams that have, even Andy, who's now, number 2 in the world. With Miles is different because he was an indoor setter and he's just different. But Andy's jump setting was not pretty. It was like, looks like you're forcing it, bud. And now it's starting to work. Mm-hmm. And so I think for all the people who kind of like just go through that trial and error process, I mean, the game's, we know the direction the game's going. So it's like, it's worth it to invest it, especially early on, like where you guys are at in your career.
Yeah, for sure.
It's tough because, adding a jump set into your game it takes time. You have to spend months to really, half the battle is consistently getting it down, but then the other half is doing it in competition. I think that's where it's difficult, because then you can end up thinking too much on your pass. Should I option or should I jump set? Like, the worst thing is when you go up to jump set and the blocker is already on your hitter.
Right.
And so let's say that set's not clean. It's like, that had no use.
Right.
But that's all a part of it, you know, and I think if you can work on that consistently with your partner and at least be successful like 4 out of 5 times, I would take that over not doing it at all. Right. So yeah.
What do you think's the more difficult part of running an offense like jump setting? Because I sort of compare it like in football to like a read option, like Lamar Jackson. He's either going to hand it off to the running back or take what he sees, pull it back and throw. Right. And it takes such an intuitive, cerebral player. Like physically, it's a gift to be able to jump set clean in the right location and pace. But then it's also, you need to be thinking about making the right play. Like you just said, if I go to jump set and I set it and the blocker stayed with the hitter the whole time, then that was just sort of a waste of energy and it wasn't that smart. And I don't know what's harder, the physical side or the mental side of making the right decision of when to option, when to set.
Yeah. It's tough. And I feel like too, like let's say, you know, they can tell when you're jump setting. Maybe if the blocker leaves, you do that same play again and just set over. Like you can also kind of play with them and be like, hey, I actually have this option that I can do instead if you're going to bait my jump set. I think the most difficult thing is if that does happen, like you pulling away from jump setting. We always talked about just keep doing it. Even if we're going for an option and we're missing it, we're like, hey, we'll end up like clapping. We're like, at least we tried it. Because at least for us, we have another year at USC. This is where we can make mistakes. This is where we don't need to necessarily, points aren't winning games aren't the biggest thing for us. It's more about the evolution of our game. Yeah. You just have to be patient. It's difficult. It's really difficult. But
yeah, and it's just like everything else in the sport, it's just a game of feel. Like you were talking about Andy, the more he does it, it's getting that touch, just feeling that comfort in doing it. And it just takes reps. And then finally the day comes when it just clicks. Yeah. And it's like the best thing ever. I've gone through that with some of the skills in volleyball. And then you look at it and it's just like, oh man, like that was really worth it. All those practices where you're just feeling crappy, finally it clicks and it's worth it. Sometimes it can take months, like for even a type of serve. Like for me, it took like a year to get my jump float down, and now it's finally, somewhat there.
Not everybody has a partner or a coach or a system or a team that is willing to wait that long, allow you to kind of fail through for a month and develop that skill and like trust you and allow you to allow yourself to make errors and whatnot. That's like the biggest thing for me is like, I like doing weird, crafty, creative things. Like that makes the game fun for me, but I'm like, I got to tell my partner, like, I might do something stupid every once in a while. Just let me do it. Okay. Like, cause it'll work out in the long run. Like I need to enjoy myself and be creative. And that's when I play best. But then I'll make some dumb error or do something stupid and be like, that's the one I need you to let me do it on. And which it's been hard for me. Like with Hayden, his game worked well for mine, but I was young. So I was like scared to like do stupid shit because I knew he'd call me out on it. But I actually remember like jump setting a few times back then and like doing this stuff. I'm like, oh, I better do it right or else he's gonna get mad, stuff like that. But nowadays I'm like, dang, like you need to push your partners to like be creative and try new things, and especially like as the game's evolving. That's why it's cool playing Cam right now, because he's super open to all that kind of stuff. So I'm finally I'm doing the jump setting, but I'm like coming down luckily I have like more hang time, like you said. Like I think that's
helps.
what makes it easier, because I mistime it a lot, like as we saw in that one highlight clip. That highlight clip was not a pretty jump set, and I was, oh crap, I'm flying.
It just came out.
I just
perfect.
flicked it. Yeah.
See, that's the difference is when I mistime it,
we're on the ground.
We're
I'm on the ground.
we don't
And I don't. I can feel myself falling down, and my hands aren't yet on the ball, and I know, like, I lose all, because my core is not tight, so I lose all my power.
Yeah, and then
so
you
I
just
literally
hold
have
it.
to
You're like,
time it, like, exactly. And I have
Well,
to
look
time
at
it
Miles.
perfectly.
He catches it on the way up or right at the peak almost every time. So it's like really easy. He can flick it with his hands because his momentum's going up, and he's getting it right before that peak, maybe. I don't really know.
I think as an indoor setter too, that timing,
it's
getting his feet under
exactly
the ball
what
is
he's always
second
been
nature.
doing.
He's set himself
even if it
up
isn't.
well for that.
Exactly.
It's interesting to see the men's game evolve so much, and I feel like if you're looking at the top teams, the guys that are doing the jump setting, they've been together for a while. Like I was at U21 Worlds with the Swedish guys, and I like had to talk to their coach. So I was like, you're doing some crazy stuff that no one else is doing. How did you get into this? And he was telling me that he would have them jump setting since they were like 14, basically. Like they've been doing it for so many years.
Yeah, it was his idea.
Yeah.
He like made them do it, from what I understand.
He doesn't even look like a beach. He looks like a surfer guy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But he's, he definitely is a genius because they've just propelled themselves to the top.
Yeah.
Top of the world. But on the girls' side, I feel like at least in the U.S., we're seeing a lot of turnover in partnerships. I kind of think, like, is that impacting, like, the evolution of the game for just giving those players enough time to develop those habits, like jump setting, spreading the ball consistently, being comfortable, that sometimes can take up to years to do.
Totally.
Yeah, take a long time.
Like, it takes a long time to be patient. It's a big commitment to add that to your game. Mm-hmm. And it's just interesting because the turnover it's been kind of fast lately.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Plus, there's like, everyone has a different skill set, and like at the end of the day, in 10 years from now, are we going to be saying that everyone should have been practicing, or there's like certain people, like clearly you did not need to go down that jump setting path, like you did great without it. It just wasn't part of your game. Yeah. So for everyone to force it and think that like that's how we have to be it's not really right either.
Which honestly could be the majority of women's teams.
Yeah, it's different. You can't completely compare it to the men's side. Are there any girls teams that are like consistently using it?
I don't think consistently. I've seen a couple.
And is it working?
I've seen a couple try it, but it doesn't work as well because the women's teams for the most part don't option at the same rate as the men. Because for jump set to be effective, you need to have the threat of the option.
You gotta
like that's the whole sell.
Yeah.
And so I think once the women start optioning as much as the guys, like
I could see like Kelly.
I think Kelly Chang, if she wanted to develop it, she could be lethal.
Yeah.
Or like Brandy just started hand setting, but if she were to develop a jump set along with that hand set, because she options a lot, especially with Mel's passing and defense, like that would be a crazy evolution.
I want to be the hitter with a jump setter one of these days.
Yeah.
Where's my nobody ups?
Yeah.
I don't get any of those.
You know my number.
I do know your number. We're going to SANDCAST tour.
SANDCAST tour, baby. After Paris, let's go.
Perfect.
But
Lefty too.
Yeah. It's a good combo.
I like that.
That's the Norse combo right there. Lefty, righty, jump setting.
I need to get me some of
a
this.
little bit of fun. But you guys, has Dane had the patience to like develop that with you guys, like that system?
So we haven't. This has not been a part of our game really, at all.
Yeah.
Until like this summer, like I remember, I whipped out a jump set like the first time in the semifinal of the NCAA Championship game like 2 years ago.
What a time!
I didn't do it like all season. I figured I would just do it then. I was in such a flow state. I was like, I'm just gonna, and it just happened. I didn't even like predetermine it.
Yeah.
But we would do it every once in a while throughout season. But I think this summer we really started to incorporate it now. And honestly, it's not incorporated it yet. Like when you have a jump set offense, you're 80% of the plays you're either going to option or jump set.
Mm-hmm.
we haven't. It might be 20%.
Just the occasional.
So so we need to figure out what the pass is going to look like.
It's very early stages.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it's tough, but like one thing that our sports psych at USC has said to us before, she's like, when you're at the top of your game, change your game. And like Tiger Woods is an example of that, changing his swing late into his career.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just interesting. I feel like the older you get, in order to, that area of improvement just gets smaller because everyone is just so good.
Yeah. And
so it's like, what can get you to that next level? And so we're just trying to be a little bit more dynamic. But in terms of our coaching, I think Gustavo is definitely very open to it. I think Dane is too. He is also like, and when he says this, it is right. He's saying, you know, sometimes just simple is better, which is true. There's times when it's just, you got to slow down and maybe just go up and down, because we do like to move our sets around a lot, and we'll go fast or we'll go like fake back, whatever we do. And sometimes that can kind of screw you up if you're both not on the same page.
Yeah.
But I think what's nice about them is they ultimately want us to be the best versions of ourselves, and we do have autonomy over that. So it's a good environment.
Yeah. And even just not with the jump setting, but you guys, like you said, you run a spread offense, you move it around a lot. And I know that like that was sort of your system coming into USC, and probably one of the reasons, was it Dane or Anna that recruited you guys?
It was Anna.
Okay.
She kept the door open, and without her, we wouldn't be there. So
okay.
Yeah, very grateful for her.
Was it like a deal breaker? Did you guys come in saying like we'll commit if we're together, or did you leave it open to getting paired with different people?
We would tell coaches like we're kind of a package deal.
Okay.
Which it sounds kind of funny, but it's true. We were not, since we were little, we've always wanted to be together.
Yeah.
So it's, it never changed. But
we're the type where we'll do as we're told, and if you want to go a certain direction, we're gonna whatever role we have, we will do that role to the fullest. But we did present our just kind of what we wanted, and that was to play together, and they kind of all know that. But then again, every time you step on the court, you do have to prove yourself. So every year it's been that. It hasn't just been a set thing.
Yeah. Your freshman year was COVID?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can never make sense of who is in what year right now in college. Are you guys like the last generation of the COVID?
Yeah, after us, it's it.
Okay.
No more COVID transfers.
Okay.
Yep. That'll
make it easier for me to follow.
Yeah.
I was like, I know they're seniors, but are they COVID seniors or normal seniors?
Yeah. COVID seniors. Fifth years.
COVID seniors.
So you guys are 3 for 3 in NCAA Championships? You two.
Yes.
Who's the core of that team? So it's you two, Delaynie Maple. Is your class?
Megan
Kraft.
So
Olivia Bakos is in there.
Yeah,
okay.
Olivia Bakos. Those three though are we missing anyone?
After this year, I think that might.
So those three are in the grade below.
Okay.
And we've all been together since our sophomore year,
Got
their
it.
freshman year coming in, the last three.
Okay. Back to back national championships. That's pretty dang good.
That's unheard of.
It worked.
I want just one of those.
Yeah.
We it was honestly it's crazy because when I think about it, I just have no words, and we're just so grateful to be at a place like USC where you have all the resources there for you. Not only that, but you have a group of girls, coaches, staff, team behind the team, everyone who's just so motivated and has a shared purpose in what we're trying to accomplish, and culture wins at the end of the day. And I've never in my life experienced being on the type of teams that we have the last 3 years. It's just been amazing, and there's always like little speed bumps in the road, but they're not hurdles. They're just our culture ultimately, I think, has been what that common denominator.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's it's clearly a sports culture at USC. Do you feel like there's like added pressure knowing that it's such a prestigious, not only for beach volleyball, but just a prestigious athletic program in the country, and there's so much resources poured in? You see what the football teams do.
Yeah, I feel like it's I'm there. I mean, there's a bit of a pressure, but I feel like it's more of like empowerment. Yeah. Like, because if you get to USC, you're meant to be there.
Right.
So at that point, you have nothing else but to be yourself. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, the work ethic will speak for itself. Like if you have a really strong work ethic rooted in really strong habits, like just a lifestyle, you're naturally going to use all of those resources and more. Right. Like happily and gratefully and respectfully.
Yeah, totally.
And I think at USC, we always talk about it. Like everyone on our team, it's a privilege to wear USC. So I think just like the weight of the jersey, like we really know who we're playing for and what we're playing for. And, you know, all those players before us, the program that's been established, the institution, just all of it. So, yeah, I think, you know, it adds a little bit of pressure, but I think if you're there, you're meant to be there, you have that mindset, it's more of like, I feel like you're more in the moment because you kind of, you're willing to take all of that in.
Yeah, I think so too. And I know, like, I feel like wearing that jersey, I feel like we always do have a target on our back, and having the success that our program has had since its birth.
You definitely have a target on your back.
Yeah, it is there. But like my sister said, I think that, you know, when you're a USC student athlete, you really take pride in that.
Yep.
And that pride, that confidence in everything that you do kind of overrides any sort of pressure that comes from the outside or any noise.
Yeah.
That comes
it's
your
like
way.
a certain personality that they're recruiting, right?
Yeah.
And clearly you guys embrace, like, there's different personalities that would handle it differently. Clearly you guys have embraced it and won 3 national championships. But there is something there that I experienced it as well. It's just like, whoa, this is different. Like the standard here is much different. But like you said, you're there because they recruited you and they thought that you were a good fit for them. So you really just go and be yourself, right?
Right, yeah.
And that should be the recipe. But I've also seen a lot of people fall off, get freshman year, hey, we're all freshmen. There's like 5 less freshmen by the time season starts. Like, oh, this wasn't for you, was it?
It happens. It really does. And I feel like that's like, you have to go in and be yourself, but you also have to ask yourself what you want out of your experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like coming in, even as freshmen, we would tell Dane, like, hey, you know what? We don't need a C on our chest to act like, to have a leadership role.
Right.
Not necessarily act like a captain. And, you know, we knew our role definitely every year we have. But I feel like you have to have the intention of really leaving the place better than you found it and just carrying that culture that was set before you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the intention, you know, putting your work ethic to work, basically.
Totally.
I feel like.
Who are you guys between committing to?
You want to?
I'm sure you're recruited by everyone.
Yeah, we mainly focused on California schools, and we were committed to Stanford for about 2 years or so, and then during our senior year, we decommitted and went to USC.
Just shattered Andrew Fuller's heart.
Yeah, that was
tough.
That was honest. I think that was probably the hardest decision we've ever had to make,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things where you kind of have to be selfish. And that was a really, really tough conversation to have at 17 or 18, however old we were. But, you know, it was, I really do think that was the best decision that we could have made for ourselves. We're from SoCal, you know, close to family. My dad went to USC. Grandpa went to USC, runs in the blood. So
brother was at USC.
Brother was at
too.
USC,
Yep.
you know, and we just, also the program was just so enticing to us because we wanted to, as freshmen and all throughout all our years in a program, we wanted to be surrounded by people who were better than us. We don't care if, you know, sorry, let me rephrase because I don't want to say, we wanted to be an environment that was very competitive. And we felt that was USC and you know, that was coming from Anna Collier at the time. And also Dane now exudes that as well.
Yeah.
But I think that was the best decision for us to make.
And given the collection of talent you've been surrounded by and your teammates at USC, your team 2 years ago is one of the wildest assemblages of beach volleyball players I've ever seen.
So
Like,
interesting.
that's not even just like in terms of beach volleyball, but I think across all sports in the NCAA was probably the most talent-rich roster in
I
the
think
country.
so too.
I agree.
I think it will go down like in history
It was a
as
professional team. It wasn't a college team.
It was what I said.
And we didn't act like college players. We acted like professionals. The way that we came in and conducted business, it was the craziest thing.
And like as underclassmen, we had to just grow up. I mean, we were very mature for our age, but we had to that maturing process was kind of expedited.
Yeah.
And then our junior year, I think, was just like both those years, every year the team's been amazing. But our junior year, I think that might go down as like one of the best groups, I think, in beach volleyball history.
Yeah.
It was honestly just insane that in that whole season, we weren't just losing matches 3-2. We weren't just winning matches 3-2.
Right.
We were winning them
5-0,
4-1, 5-0. So it was crazy, and to be surrounded by that much talent. I mean, we were just so grateful, and to be able to play on the court with Tina every day,
yeah.
Julia, Hailey, and the rest of the
even
rest
Meg
of the group.
too. It's been great. Like Delaney, all those guys. Like it's been such a privilege.
Yeah.
Learned a lot.
Really,
I mean, that roster was what? I mean, it was Tina, an Olympian, 2-time European champion on court one, playing with. She rotated between a couple, but then Megan Kraft was who she settled with, right?
Megan, and then really Hailey. If we're looking at
right.
the most previous lineup.
And then Hailey's
AVP
now
champion.
an AVP champ. And then on court 2, you had Julia Scoles.
Court 2, we had Megan and Sammy Slater.
Okay.
Sammy, I forgot about
Sammy,
Sammy.
like one of the winningest
How could I
players of
forget
all
about
time.
Sammy?
American.
Yeah.
Sammy's
Still be
insane.
playing if she wasn't.
I love Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was amazing.
And then Julia Scholes at a 3 spot.
Julia at a 3s. Like
In
you
what
don't
world?
Just won an Elite 16
Yeah,
silver.
just got a
crazy.
silver and an Elite 16. It's
And
one
then
of the top teams in the world.
that summer after they all graduated, Hailey got an AVP win. Julia got an AVP win.
That summer.
And I was like, this is crazy.
And Delaney and Meg won a U19 world champs?
Or
is that U21?
U19. Yeah.
It's almost like the like me and my Hawaii group, we all like have always measured ourselves against each other.
Yeah.
And so like when one guy went off and like did something big, it was like, oh, well then I can do that. You know, and you guys got to measure each other every day at practice and also in competition, and then someone goes and wins a pro event. We're like, well, then I guess I can win pro events. And now you guys are all just
crazy. Could you
coming
imagine
out
if,
and just
you and all the
dominating.
Hawaiians were on the same team?
Yeah, right. Oh,
There was like an outrigger college
well,
team
we
or
were
something.
in club, indoor, but yeah.
But it's wild, though. I'm sure you guys probably learned a ton just from having that
So much
group.
personal development as like humans, and we just learned so much. I think probably one of my biggest takeaways, something I'm most thankful for as well, is just the growth that we've had together and individually in our faith as well, which Julia Scholes has really helped us develop that. And it's just been such a focal point of like my life and like how I root myself, especially with how I approach sports psychologically as well. I just got to a place that was so grounded consistently when I play, and as an athlete you really can't ask for anything else than that.
100%.
If you can try and get into that flow state consistently and figure out what grounds you, like that for me, that was what I always wanted. I mean, every athlete wants that, and I feel like I slowly can get I've gotten the taste of that.
What gets you there? What are some of the things that get you into that flow state a little easier?
Well, I mean, I think individual and collective things. For one, we need to be treating each other really well, for sure. Yeah. Just as siblings, like it can be hard just to hold what you want to say when it's your
100%.
sibling.
Yep.
Just gotta swallow it.
And then you're always talking about staying in the moment. Just you got to have like that short-term memory loss.
Yeah.
And then, just for me, the knowledge that there's something bigger. Just knowing my why and what I play for. It's not necessarily to win a trophy or something physical. It's more to glorify God. So that honestly carries me through everything. I mean, even in our final championship match, it literally felt like any other match. I felt so weird.
Felt calm.
I was in shock after because I didn't even know what happened again, because it felt so normal. I didn't feel like it was this heightened thing that like 11,000 people were watching around the court. I was just so in the moment and engrossed by like everything that was going on just on our side. Kind of a long-winded answer, but
that's what we're here for. We got no time limits. But go ahead.
I was just gonna add there's those things. I think like during the game, being in the moment, and one thing that we always say is confidence is competence. I think also one of the biggest things that I've taken away over my time at USC is like really gaining that confidence. And it's almost like, it's funny, Tina said this before, what our coaches will do is they'll get some of our previous players to say something on a video, and just kind of like a good luck thing before our national. And we've done it the last 3 years, kind of the night before our national championship game. And Tina was talking, and it's like such a Tina thing to say, but because she literally embodied this, she was saying, and how foreigners can be kind of blunt and just straightforward, so she's very much like that, but in the best way. She's very humble. She was like, when you step on the court, you kind of have to, you stand tall, and you have an arrogance about yourself. You're not too cocky, but you kind of are cocky. Like she's and that's literally like when you see Tina, like nothing phases her, and she kind of like stands tall, and she just
definitely.
You kind of have to know you're the shit. Excuse my language, but you can't like, and it's not something that's, it's not anything that has to be taken personally or whatever. But I think having that confidence in ourselves really just it breeds competence. Like it allows you to just functionally do the right next thing. And then in addition to that, in terms of getting in the flow state, I think having a routine is really important.
Right. Yeah.
Every day, whether that's before a match, you're listening to whatever song you like, or you go by the water and we'll like to pray together, or, you sit and you just, what I like to do actually, and what we do at USC is we do breathing. So, for me, just 4 in, hold for 4 out.
I love box breathing.
Yeah,
I do 5 minutes before every match.
That's what I do, which I think really helps, because then it's just like, okay, I've been here before. Like I've been here before. I know what this is, and then you're just getting your body, physically comfortable, because that's just cues that'll tell it that you're here.
Yeah, I love that. And for the national championship, I was watching, and it comes down to you guys. I feel like that happens a lot with you guys, because it was 2-2. That came down to your court. And I remember afterwards, Dane said, of course, maybe with confirmation bias, and Henny's like, I'd rather have no one else on the court but the Nourse sisters. Because you guys are you undefeated in Gulf Shores?
No, so that's where this, I think, so we already know what we can say, but our sophomore year, I don't think we approached the game the same, but kind of how we handled it mentally was different.
Okay.
And our sophomore year, we hit the season really hard, and we wanted to be up here right away. And so we actually had like a 24-game winning streak or something that whole so we were killing it up until the end, and we kind of just went like that. And so kind of having gone through that, going into our junior year, also into our senior year, we just thought, okay, we want to go like this. We want to have a growth mindset, just continually operate on that. And you don't have to be at 100% first part of the season, right? So we wanted to ultimately peak at the right time. So I think having that mindset, like slow and steady kind of wins the race, the last 2 years has really, really helped us. And it's gotten to us to the point where we feel very comfortable going into those postseason like conference tournaments.
Yeah, and I feel like for our entire team, it was just, we may have lost that. If you put us on paper, and we played that UCLA team like 10 times, we may have lost 7 or 8 times, but we showed up on that day. Like we peaked at the right time, basically, and that was kind of the story for everyone.
Yeah.
And like when you're in that third set match, that's what you want. That's every athlete's dream, or it should be. If you play the sport, right? You get a chance to win, and regardless, you have to put a point on the board. But then when it comes down to you, it makes it that much sweeter. So I think we were just excited to even be put in that position. I remember before that final was crazy, because we went up 2-0 on UCLA, and Audrey and I
didn't think that was going to happen, to be honest.
No, we were hoping for a split. Yeah. And then it started to happen, and we were watching it, and we, Megan, Delaney were there with us, Gabby and Olivia, and I like felt it coming. I pulled Audrey aside, and I was like, listen, it's coming down to us. Like, you have to know that this match is coming down to our court. We need to make sure we get a point on the board for our team today. And that's what happened, kind of manifested it. Because you never know what's going to happen in beach volleyball.
Yeah,
Anything can happen.
Yeah. Especially in Gulf Shores, it's windy, it's a lot of pressure.
It's a whole nother atmosphere. But yeah, I think we were just ready to take on that challenge. Yeah.
So you guys were pretty attuned to what was happening on the other courts. Because I never really know. I feel like athletes treat it differently.
I try not to look, honestly.
Yeah.
I try not to look. We were definitely aware when everyone was crowding our court, but the amazing thing is during that final, like I was just in such a flow state that I couldn't hear the crowd around me. I couldn't hear really anything except for my sister. And that's kind of exactly where you want to be in that position. And sometimes it's hard to get there. But it's like your mindset, your mind is a muscle. You got to work it.
Yeah.
Right.
And so luckily we've done the preparation to feel comfortable in those moments.
For sure.
Yeah. I didn't know that it was coming down to us until our team surrounded our court. Mm-hmm. Like I don't ever look at other scores on other courts because it doesn't matter.
Right.
That's just information that shouldn't
Something
impact
you
your decision
can't
at all.
control.
So why would I even?
Right.
Why would I even take it in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was kind of what happened.
But that's like another big thing is control what you can control,
Yes.
right? Don't put wasted energy. That's like one thing that Goose says is like put your energy in the right places.
Yes.
And just control what you can control, and that's all you can do. Put your best foot forward and then keep putting your best foot forward.
It's funny, like, can you imagine us in college? Like, I was like not knowingly starting to learn sports psychology and whatnot, and like the internal dialogue was all just me trying to figure out ways to play better. But like the way I talk about it now is like how you guys are talking about it now, but I'm like 12 years older.
Well, I'll tell you,
it's pretty impressive.
I think being identical twins has helped with that because, you know, transparently we've had a sports psych since we were 16.
Wow, yeah.
And it originally started to work on our relationship as sisters because we knew we wanted to play the sport together for a long time, but the only way we were going to do that is if we saw someone to help us through our differences. And we sound like husband and wife,
it's like a marriage counselor.
Literally,
you know how many people
like
need
a marriage,
to hear that though? And
yeah,
like,
but
this
you
is
really
how
are.
you get through
So
it.
it's how you
figure it
get
out.
through it, yeah. And so that kind of what started as us trying to figure out how to basically understand what the other needs on the court, and then also, like, you know, over time we each individually have our own issues that we go through, and so sometimes we'll have one-on-ones.
Yep.
And you just, like, for me, like, I figured out certain tools that I can bring out when I'm in a rut in a game or something, like certain things I'll say or certain things I'll do, and she might not have the same ones, but you know, you develop tools to kind of help you through that.
Yeah.
And it's tough, you know, in the beginning it was tough being vulnerable because we always thought, like, we don't need to talk to someone. It's like,
Yeah, right.
you know, but
My kid is just
Don't go
going
there.
ham over there.
No, the construction site.
but over time, you know, the sport, it can get pretty heavy. So you need, I mean, for us, we just needed that outlet.
I mean, the way that I'm still wired is like I try to muscle my way through things. Like I feel like I could run through a wall if you wanted me to.
Yeah.
Like we run the beep test at USC.
Right.
It's one of the conditionings we do. It's really hard. And
Yeah,
I need to be the last one up, and if not, then I need to be on the floor. Like I can't. So it was really hard for me to muster up the courage and embrace the vulnerability to say, okay, actually, this could be really helpful for me.
Right.
It's not something I can do on my own.
Yep.
I think that's also like the faith piece for us is like, you know, you can't just do life on your own. You need something that's going to ground you. It's going to pull you back when you are kind of off course.
Floating.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. I'm trying to like right now kind of expand my capacity to work and whatnot, and I'm saying these same things to myself, like control the controllables, like ground myself somewhere. But yeah, no, it's impressive because I just think back to my college days. I'm like, I was nowhere near having the same like internal dialogue and awareness and whatnot.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is like being able to kind of like take that thing out that's super deep in you and unraveling it.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part is like unraveling it and kind of figuring out, okay, this is why that I do these things.
And not just for volleyball. Like,
right.
Like
Definitely.
when I'm hearing you
It's
say it,
in
I'm just
life.
like, these are life skills right here, people. Like we're not even
and
talking
that's
about
not an easy
volleyball.
thing to do. It's really, really not.
Yeah.
And like it's like that self-awareness and
Yes.
and learning more about yourself
Oh, I know.
and So, and it's all a process. I mean, we're nowhere near close to, to getting anything perfect, but it's important, I think, in life, and not just in sport, but with a job, with a family.
Yes,
with
100%. Like my family right here.
She's so cute.
Just control the controllables. It's funny, like hearing like all the internal dialogue, because when we had Mike Gervais on the show,
he's awesome.
He was asking us where we thought confidence comes from, and we're like, experiences and like stuff like that, and he said that it comes from self-talk and like that internal dialogue. That's where all that confidence comes from. You guys clearly have a lot of it, but also have a lot of that internal dialogue and awareness going on. So 2 and 2, put them together.
Yeah. But it's hard. It's like, and it's confidence isn't something that you work to have and then you just have. You can never give up on the self-talk thing.
Yeah.
Especially in our sport, especially like if you're the one that's getting the serves, like you always need to be giving yourself that self-talk. Sometimes I get quiet and it doesn't help, but like I have to remind myself that actually will bring out my confidence more. Like, and you kind of manifest things, and
totally.
So it's something that you like really have to work on.
It's like this that false confidence piece. Like we've all had those friends who are just like, how are you, like, what? You shouldn't be that confident. And then they just keep, and this is Trevor Crabb for me. They just keep getting better, and you're like, what? No, there's no way you're gonna be good. And then no, because he's just in his mind, he just knows who he is and what he wants to do. And I'm like, I guess there's no such thing as false confidence. It's just whatever you think. It's probably gonna happen.
Yeah. There's definitely like having that self-worth and knowing your value.
Yeah.
You don't need really validation from other people.
Exactly.
You can kind of
like you hear other people what they say and you just don't believe it, and you just whatever you believe in your head, that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But not having that awareness is dangerous, right? Because you don't realize you have this negative self-talk you're telling yourself and like beating yourself up in your head until you do have that mindfulness. You gain that tool to be aware of it, and then it's like, oh, like now I'm aware that I'm being mean to myself or super negative to myself. Now I can choose to believe that or not.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it reminds me of this quote that I really like, and I forget who said it, but it's there are those who think they can and those who think they can't, and both are usually right.
Yes, exactly.
Right. And that's essentially what sports is
in
life, really.
Yeah,
totally.
But that's awesome that you guys have this dialed, like Tri said, at such a young age, because I didn't really start looking into sports psychology until I was like 29.
It's kind of the wave that we're in a bit.
Yeah,
I think we came onto it really early, and we're pretty vocal about that we do we work with sports psych, and that's a huge part of our game, and we've just seen the return that it's given us. Mm-hmm. But I feel like college athletes in general are turning more to sports psych to just to work on that mental side, because it is so important, especially at the next level. Yeah,
it's been proven now at the next level. Is like most professional athletes are like swearing by it now. So why wouldn't USC be pushing it on their athletes? And why wouldn't those athletes, the high school athletes that are training hard, look to the college athlete? Yeah, it's just the evolution of it.
USC has I think they have a team of 22 psychologists, which is
crazy.
I think some of the most in the country.
Wow.
And it's kind of been that big for a while. Yeah, most places only have like 2.
We had like a guy come in once or twice a year, I think, and like talk to us, kind of thing. Like, but it wasn't
once or twice
a year. Yeah, it was like in the film room, and like, oh, this guy does sports psychology. We're like, okay, what is that?
And like, you weren't in college that long ago.
It doesn't
feel
like
USC
it was that
has come a long way.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
very innovative.
I think them, and it's just become a whole wave.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing a lot of big programs across the nation.
You guys like obviously are kind of going about things in a professional way, just naturally being a part of that program. How's like the balance of just being in college, taking care of school, but also just the social life and like enjoying where you're at in life right now?
Yeah, it's tough because there's parts of the year where it's great and it's super fun, and obviously parts of the year where it's not, and you just have to know kind of what spot you're in. So I mean, obviously we're a spring sport, and when seasons we're in season, we're very much dialed in, and so the social life is definitely less. Just because you're committed to accomplishing this thing.
Yep.
But it's, it's tough. It's kind of what you sign up for, being a student athlete, and you have to know that you're going to make that sacrifice of, okay, maybe I'm not going to go out tonight. I'm going to stay in and
not all the
rest up.
athletes think they signed up for that.
Not all.
It hasn't changed that much since I left.
No, it hasn't. It's not. But there's definitely a lot of sacrifices that you have to make, and like I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it's tough. Like sometimes it really is tough, and it feels like you do end up missing out on this other thing. But what I have done, I wouldn't change it for the world. So it's the grass is always greener, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
It is. It really is, and I feel like
100%.
We kind of always say this when we think of student athletes. For us, student comes before athlete. We actually prioritize our academics over athletics, but we prioritize them both really highly.
Yes, right.
And that's what drew us to Stanford really initially, like that epitome of just academic and athletic excellence, basically. You definitely have to give up something, but it's worth it, especially if you have conviction and you have that work ethic and you know what you want. But you can always balance it. That's the thing. Like, it's not that hard to balance. Yeah. I think one of the most important things in life is relationships. And looking back on our 3 years, I think one thing I'm most grateful for is the relationships I've been able to cultivate, the people that I've met, my teammates, coaches, professors, alumni. And, you always have to make sure that those are kind of being given the love, because I think that's what kind of brings me some of my most happiness. I feel like it's like through my relationships. But yeah, it's kind of a balancing act, honestly.
Yep.
But I don't feel like it's that hard, to be honest. I will say your first year, it's pretty darn difficult because it's very new. Yeah. But once you figure out that routine and really it's figuring out your priorities. Yes. How to utilize your resources. Then again, we're at USC. Like, we have all the resources.
You don't have that excuse.
We'll talk to our grad transfers will come in and they'll just be amazed by all of this stuff that we have at our fingertips. So I think there's a bit of that in there, Yeah. Like, we have it pretty nice.
I was not good at academics, and I came from a school with I graduated 20 kids in Hawaii. And I was like shocked, just like, what's going on? Like, I don't know how to do any of this. I don't even know how to write an essay. But the resources were all there. The tutors were set up. I could do the lower level writing classes or whatever. The resources were there, and it was up to me to use them. And it was just if I failed out and didn't make it, it was because I didn't try. It wasn't because the school was too hard and I just wasn't built for it, kind of thing. But I have seen people that just didn't do the work, were lazy through it, smarter than me, I thought, and I'm just like, that's on you. You don't make it through, because all the resources in the world are available at that school for sure.
It takes courage to really try.
Right.
That's the thing. I think a lot of times people can be drawn back because they're afraid of maybe failure or afraid of it not working out.
Yeah, so if you went all in and then you failed, that means that your
best wasn't good enough.
Yeah, was it worth it in the first place? Right. Yeah. Which I feel like that's our mindset going into everything, is like, just go all in, because it doesn't matter what the outcome is. Because if you can get to the end line and look back and not regret any of the work that you put in, then it really shouldn't matter what the outcome is. Yeah. Because that's fate. That was supposed to happen the way it was supposed to happen.
Yeah. And then it just goes back to what your why is when you're going through like that. And let's say you don't hit your expectation that you wanted. You're playing, and for us, we're playing, to glorify God, and that in our faith we're just really strong in our faith, and that's kind of why we do it. And volleyball is just so small. Life is so, there's so much more to life. And so I think just knowing to kind of reset, ground yourself in that, or at least we do, that is also really, really helpful. And it allows you to fail forward, if that makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Instead of just feeling like, you've lost it all. Right. You're able to actually learn from it, which I think is the most important thing.
Yeah. Speaking of things that are bigger than volleyball, if you do need to go, I don't want to
Yeah, I
get
might have to dip out for
I
a
don't
little
wanna
family
get you in
photo shoot.
trouble.
But I like where the convo is going. I'm like, I'm going to stay. Yeah, I'm going to dip out and let you guys finish without me.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks
Yeah,
for coming on.
great.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick around.
I'll listen to the
hang
rest.
out with you guys.
Thanks,
Awesome.
See ya.
Yeah.
See you try. We gotta manage schedules here.
Oh yeah,
It's
all-
good
I
enough when
totally
we
get
just,
that.
when we just have them home.
Totally get that.
Yeah, the summer podcast scheduling is always such a wild ride because I'm on the road, he's on the road. Now we both have kids, and then Savvy is our like third host.
Yeah.
Then she's also doing World Tour and AVP.
Yeah.
So half the time it's like, well, the guest can make it, but Try can't, Savvy can't. I can do this time, and so scheduling's always a mess.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, Try, we got you for 45. We'll take it.
Yeah.
Love that.
But it's so cool that you guys like you have that zoomed out perspective already, because like when I was a younger athlete, like in high school, it was like the world was winning a state golf championship. And I was in college, it was all about like basketball, and I did club swim too. And I didn't really get the zoomed out perspective really until now. And you realize like how small volleyball is in the grand scheme of things. When did you guys start to get that? I know you've mentioned faith a bunch of times, and that's like a solid bedrock to have, but I feel like your parents had to have done a really nice job of instilling those values in you.
Yeah, I mean, I think our parents have done so much for us, and they are just huge points of inspiration for us, because we would not be anywhere near where we are without them, truly. I mean, we work really hard, but they've provided for us a million opportunities and more to get to where we are today. So, I mean, indebted to them. They're so grateful for them. I think, I feel like it's a mix of a lot of things. Parenting is probably a big one. I feel like when I at least felt that zoomed out perspective, I feel like after we went through COVID and our respective injuries, and also, leading on people like Julia, where we started to just really understand what our self-identity was and what our self-worth was, that's when I kind of like saw that shift, probably like my sophomore year of college.
I think sophomore year of college, it was like my sister said, being surrounded by people being surrounded by people like Julia Scoles, and having that inspiration in your life, and seeing how she just leads like such a godly life, and she's just such a light. She's like one of those people that you say she walks into a room and just lights it up, and without even trying that, and she's just naturally is like that. It's because she lives through her faith. And so having her was really just, in terms of our development, it was very impactful for us. The other thing I would say is getting injured, like having a chronic injury for the first time.
Yeah.
I've always had, strains, pulls, but I, being out for 4 months at a time.
What'd you do?
I had a bone bruise
Did
on
you
my
guys
elbow.
both have injuries?
Identical injuries.
No kidding.
We both had bone bruises on our capitulums.
How do you
outside of the
both get
elbow.
the same injury?
That's
crazy.
I got mine 6 months after her, but I don't know how it happened. We were both underweight at the time, so we kind of had gone through this period kind of after COVID where, everything was sort of taken away, and so we were like, okay, we're kind
First
of
time
stir
on our
crazy.
own. No nutritionist.
Yeah.
Right. So we were working out a lot, and we just weren't feeling correctly. And it kind of, after 5 months, we were kind of down, a bit skinny, and then, we just didn't have the body fat to protect, once we got back to USC, to protect what we were doing. And so over time, I got injured my elbow, and I remember I got to this point where I was just, up until that point, I think that for the most part, my identity was rooted in volleyball. And, I wouldn't always say that. I'd be like, no, I'm school, I have all these other things, but I don't think I fully looked myself in the mirror. And there were other things too, like, my sister was a captain this last year and I wasn't, things like that as a twin. And I believe that you can be leader whether you have that C on your chest or not.
Right.
That was just something that I'd always wanted to accomplish. And, but that, again, like, each person has her own path, has his own path. And so kind of going through things like that where I've had to compare, or I've just, been in a spot where volleyball was taken away through my injury, I really had to just I don't know, it made me kind of, I had like a mini identity crisis, if you will. And going through that, that just really, really helped me in just kind of learning more about, that there's bigger things in life. Like, this isn't end of the world. And this is just one of those seasons that I have to get through. It definitely opened my eyes, and it did cause me to look in the mirror. And so I am grateful for that. I honestly, I wouldn't change it, because I definitely learned a lot.
Yeah, I feel like those seasons of life are so valuable. When you're in it, it's horrible. And then when you make it out the other end, you're like, I'm way better having had that happen to me. But I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah, totally.
Like, you would never recommend it.
No.
You're like, the perspective I have is invaluable now.
Yeah.
Right.
So true.
Would not do it again. That's for sure.
And maintaining weight is so hard. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, I struggle with that. Because do you guys wear the Whoop or any recovery
We
things?
did for 2 years.
I used to, but
like with the goal of trying to track so we could just keep gaining, seeing our sleep, making sure our bodies are just in the shape they need to be in too.
Yeah, and for me, I think the numbers kind of got me, like, I just began thinking about it way too much.
Yeah.
And it kind of got in my head a little, so I don't really wear it anymore. Because if I didn't burn this amount of calories one day, I shouldn't be eating this much. It just kind of played with my head a bit. And ultimately, I think eat good to feel good. If you're full, stop eating. If you're not, so I just with the calorie tracking, it wasn't great for me. However, I do love that product. I think Whoop is amazing in what they're doing, especially with the recovery and the strain, the heart rate.
The company.
Yeah.
Like, they're doing really cool stuff.
Yeah.
But that was just me, and I did like it when I wore it.
Yeah, but gaining weight and keeping weight is really hard. It's
especially on the beach. You burn so many calories.
Yeah, and it's
burning, like,
it's really hard
calories.
for females, I think too. It's tough. Like, guys will get on the scale in the weight room and they'll be like, "Oh shoot, like I only weigh this much. Like, I gotta put on more pounds and stuff."
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever said
females,
that.
It's like no,
be
even
honest.
when you are underweight, you're still almost want to be like. Look, it's weird. It's just, I think as a female, it's difficult because we put on weight and take off weight in a very different way than male athletes do, and I'm sure it's hard for every athlete. I mean, especially depending on our sport is literally straight cardio.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not an easy thing. I mean, we play in bikinis, so
Right.
Yeah, it's.
but it's you just kind of got to figure out what works for your body. Kind of have to, it's trial and error. You got to figure out what your ideal playing weight is. You don't necessarily need a set number, but maybe
Just like
a
healthy
guideline,
range.
healthy range, and your performance should trump your ability to perform the way you want to perform should trump how you think you should look.
Right.
Based on this social construct. That's what we've learned over time.
Yeah, because I remember, because wearing the Whoop, it was alarming to me how many calories I burned on the beach. Like, after a day
Especially as a guy,
when I
it's probably so
practiced
much.
and lift, it was like a 6,500 calorie day.
Like a 20.1 strain.
Yeah, and
Well, that's crazy.
so last year by
That's a lot of food to
May,
eat.
so, yeah.
Honestly.
So I'm just like crushing peanut butter, just spoonfuls
Yeah.
of peanut butter at
Yeah,
a time. But last year by like mid-May, I'd played maybe 7 tournaments and I'd lost 25 pounds.
Oh my god.
And
Wow.
so I took a month off just to like regain it, because like
Wow.
my like healthy weight is like 205,
Yeah.
and I hadn't seen 180 in a really long time, and I was like,
Whoa.
all right, I should
That's
take some
wild.
time.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
That's wild.
so
Yeah.
the beach just melts weight.
I think it's true. It does, and it's tough because when we're in season, you kind of have to eat a lot to be.
A ton.
And you have to eat more than you're burning. Actually, that's the thing that people don't get, is like you can't just get up to or under. You kind of have to consume more calories than
Yeah,
you're burning.
especially if you want to peak in May. for Gulf
Exactly.
Shores.
That's the thing.
No,
So
you're right.
It kind of, for at least for me as a female, like it kind of screws up my eating like schedule a little bit, because like after you're done playing, you're just constantly thinking about food. Was this enough? Did I get this in enough? In the morning, I need to make sure I eat the right breakfast.
And
in between training, I need to have this much protein,
Yeah.
and then because we really care about what we put into our bodies. And then when you're done with season, you're like, whoa, like what do I do now? I'm not really doing much today. We've been
Yeah.
training a lot this summer, so it's simple, but it's so interesting. It's
hard.
It is difficult.
It is really hard. And I think we were in particular pretty hyper fixated on it, just because having gone through an injury where, for me, it was getting tooled on my block, and then it was a hyperextension injury for me. And again, like, I just didn't have the support. So going through an injury where, weight did play a part in it, that's what kind of always, I have that fear in my head of, like, man, like, I gotta make sure I'm eating enough so that doesn't happen again. Even though it's like that's a whole process. It takes months to be on a certain track and not eating enough for that to occur. But still, it's just kind of like PTSD almost in the back of my head. And it's never an easy thing. Like, I just think as a female athlete, especially playing a sport where, you're in a bathing suit or you're in spandex, whatever it is, like, finding that balance. For me, what's really hard is finding that balance between looking a certain way but also feeling really good. And feeling confident in that, hey, I've got, like, very big shoulders, like, that. I think that's, especially with social media, like, it's tough. It's a tough thing to balance. But I think it just goes back to really just, like, loving, like, I, like, love the way I feel on the court. Like, I feel very explosive. I feel having an extra 5 to 10 pounds, I feel a heck of a lot better than I did, the other way. And so you kind of just have to, you got to put yourself first in that way. And you honestly have to shift your mindset. Like, I think that it becomes like this mindset thing where you see all this stuff on social media, how it should be, how it shouldn't be. And then it kind of messes with you. So you kind of have to, like, switch that perspective of it, I guess.
It's got to be so hard, especially as females, and especially in this new era of NIL, where a lot of the sponsorships are coming in a lot of times based on how marketable you are on aesthetics.
That's true.
It's true.
And
That's
you look
flat
at,
out true.
I'll use the Cavender twins as an example. I'm sure you guys have followed their story where they're making millions, and they were good basketball players, but not great. It's got to be so hard where you're like, sponsorships a lot of times are based on how you look. Your performance is how you feel. And there's this weird balance between the two. I don't envy women athletes.
Yeah, it's weird. I think the biggest thing with that with social media and NIL is you can't be someone you're not. We're not going to go on social media, post content that we're not, or do things that we're not going to really do, So I think, it's tough because you want to be brandable. You want to be, aesthetically pleasing and all that stuff, but you also want to be really true to yourself. And that's always driven our brand that we've tried to develop over the years. It's just authenticity. We're not going to change who we are for a brand because we wouldn't partner with them in the first place if we thought that was the motivation. You want to be aligned in your messaging to your audience from the brand and from, the athlete and client standpoint.
And like, it may take longer to get there because, like, let's be honest, what gets more views, more followers, as if you're a little less tasteful and but that's just not who we are. And so I think, like what my sister said, you hear a lot, follow the money. We don't always follow the money because it's for us, it's very important to just stay true to ourselves, stay true to our values, and just have faith in that in the long run. And we're fully committed in seeing that through. Yeah.
Do you guys have NIL deals right now?
So we've got some, we don't have, any major long-term deals currently, but we're working with, a great, kind of supplements protein mix brand, called ProMix, and we really love their stuff. But we just signed with a new representation recently, so hopefully we can kick that back up. Most of our NIL activity is largely kind of one-off deals. Okay. Our goal is to get a 6-month sponsorship deal, which we've had like 2 to 3 month sponsorship stuff, but we just want to make that longer, create longevity for ourselves, and keep setting ourselves up to survive in this sport. The money's brutal, but it's our last year of NIL, so we're really trying to take advantage of it. We don't have that much left in there, so
trying to save up as much as we can.
Smart.
So
and you guys have mostly taken off of AVPs during the summer? Is that mostly just to try to stay healthy and get ready for college?
I mean, we've played in all the. We've. I wouldn't say we take it off.
Because this year you only played Denver, right?
We played Denver. Didn't qualify for Hermosa because we were out of town. Playing the Manhattan Beach qualifier.
Okay.
The issue with it is that we finished, our season the beginning of May, so we already missed out on a few things, and then we took like a grad trip.
Yeah.
But when we're here, we're trying to train.
Okay.
and
so it's just
and
more of a
make our way.
scheduling thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you guys were just like, because it's hard for the college girls. You guys compete so much. Like your season's such a sprint, and then you go sprinting straight into AVP, and then you're into fall season. Yeah. And that's got to be tough, both body and mind, to do that.
A really tough mind. I feel like, yeah, for sure. It's tough. This summer we were really focused on. We weren't too focused on the results. We were, like we said, we're trying to change our game just a little bit and fine tune some things. So honestly, what we were really focused on is getting really strong in the gym, lifting a lot, kind of playing with that while having lifting. Being in the gym 5 days a week and playing in tournaments, like 4 to 5 days, like trying to see how that worked.
Yeah.
So we weren't too worried about the results, just because this last year, like I was out last fall for a while, had some tendonitis in my knee, and so I never really got to build that base again. Kind of when season started, I was just getting back into it, and I kind of just had to sustain what I had. So I was really just trying to get the muscle back on and just get a really solid base. Because we're just trying, like right now, we're just really trying to grow our game and just hopefully have it more fine-tuned by next summer.
Yeah,
leading into our pro career. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, because you guys hit the world tour pretty hard. Was that 2019 that summer? I feel like you guys went to Brazil and Cambodia. And...
we did. We 1 star, so lower level. It's still international tour.
And you never know. I mean, you could run into, Sweden in a 1 star.
True.
There was a 1 star, in 2017 that Anders and Christian played Perisic and Schweiner in like the 9th place rounds. And now you're looking at 2 of the top 3 teams in the world.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, we would love to be able to play on the tour again. It's so expensive.
Yeah.
It's difficult to go to your parents and say, hey, can you help me out here? We don't have any income to.
Yeah.
I also feel guilty doing that. Like, I don't know. We have a lot of pride, and I kind of want to spend what we earn.
Yeah.
Because I just feel bad kind of picking back off, they're paying for our rent, and in LA, that's just atrocious.
Right.
So that's why we're, like we talked about NAL, we're really just trying to utilize this opportunity and save up as much as we can. Just to sort of get a jump start and give ourselves the opportunity to play professional beach volleyball, essentially.
Smart.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna go for it.
Yeah.
Post college, we're gonna see what we can do. It's what we love to do, and if we can play and use our bodies and be active for a job, that would be like the dream.
It's the greatest thing in the world.
It's just a matter of if it's sustainable.
Yeah.
We want to live a certain lifestyle, and we want to, we have goals. We have professional and career goals that we also are interested in, that we want to figure out and stuff. So it's just a matter of balancing it, networking a heck ton.
Yeah.
Seriously, like getting to know the right people, and those sponsorship dollars. Hopefully those go up.
Yeah. Well, where can people follow you guys?
So it's at Beach Volleyball Twins on every platform.
Got it.
We've had that domain name since we were, I think,
super smart
freshmen in high
Maybe
school,
sophomores.
14, 15.
Yeah.
What are your biggest platforms that you guys use? I mean, Instagram, I feel like
Instagram
is
and
a
TikTok.
must. Okay.
Yeah.
You're on the TikTok
we've
train.
been trying to grow it kind of this year a
Okay.
lot, and we're still trying. We're, I think, finally picking up some traction. But it's tough, it really is a job in and of itself. So it's kind of another thing on top of what we're doing. But I mean, I don't know. It's like I said, you just got to find a routine and really enjoy what you do. So we're very passionate about it.
Yeah.
So it's worthwhile.
I refused. I couldn't, because Trout was like, should we get a TikTok? And we hired someone, and then wasn't doing a great job. She was like, can you keep doing the TikTok? I was like, no. I just didn't enjoy doing it. I was like, I'm just not a TikToker.
See,
it's difficult.
Originally, we weren't really social media people,
Yeah.
but we've had to really just bring those walls down and try to get comfortable, because that is literally, I mean, that's our lifeline essentially, in terms of female athletes making money outside of tournament, winnings. So it's kind of do or die.
Yeah. And social media, it gets a justifiably really bad rap, but I just look at it as a tool. And when I use it as a tool, it's really useful. It's when I catch myself not using it as a tool, I'm like, all right, so I'll literally just delete Instagram off my phone.
Yeah, which is good.
Once my use, once it's done being the hammer I need it to be, and then I delete it off the phone.
Yeah.
And I'll re-download it the next day, use it as a tool, and then get it away again.
That's the thing. I think we use it as a tool so much that I don't... I'll definitely go on it to update, but usually when I go on it, it's to check and see if, the content's performing the way I want it to perform. If we're delivering, the right content to the brand that we want, what brands are doing. I more see it as like a job. It's so interesting. And then when I'm like, okay, I'm off of it, which I kind of appreciate that.
Yeah.
TikTok is the app though, where I could scroll for a while. I could just...
There's companies were designed by really high-end psychologists. They know how to get you. And when I start scrolling, I'm like, damn it, I get it. I get why people get so hooked on this stuff.
Yeah, it's the short form content. It's
it is
3-second to 30-second videos that you're like, oh, I can just do one more. It turns into 100 more videos.
25 minutes later, you're just caught in the death scroll.
An hour. Totally. I've been stuck on there for 2 hours before.
Totally.
I think that's how long I went.
Yeah. Well, you guys, you have Manhattan in a couple days. Good luck.
Thank you.
And then when does USC fall start?
We start, we start school next Monday.
Yeah.
So we're starting our grad school next Monday, which we're really excited about.
Yeah.
And then practice will start 2 or 3 weeks after, I think.
Okay.
After Labor
Super
Day or
light.
something.
Okay.
To start. Yeah.
And so you guys, you return most of your team, huh? I mean, I know you lost a lot of the grad transfers throughout, Madison Shields.
Yep.
So gone, right?
Yep. We lost our grad transfers, graduated. But we've had a very young team, so everyone's still there, and then we've got kind of an influx of new grad transfers as well.
Oh, nice.
As well as some good freshmen too. So
who's transferring in?
We have Maddie Kriz from Stanford.
Okay.
Ainsley from Cal. Grace Seitz from Grace Seitz from LSU. Emily, what's her last name? I think
I'm not sure. She's we have an indoor player that's going to play both. She's on the USC team now.
Awesome.
Another indoor player, right?
Yeah, another indoor player from Texas. And I think maybe another one.
Jeez.
And we have 6 freshmen coming in.
You guys have reloaded.
Yeah. It's a reload. I think
it is a reload.
This team is will be a lot more equipped than last year's team in terms of depth.
Yeah.
Hands down.
And experience.
Which is cool. And experience. And that's kind of what you want. You know, that depth and the experience. It's going to be super competitive, and
it'll be fun.
It'll be great. I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, it was crazy because coming into last year, I remember because we had Delaynie Maple on the podcast, and I was like, it's funny looking at USC. You're kind of underdogs. And I was like, shame on me for ever calling USC an underdog. Not anymore. The target's back.
It's funny. We'll see.
Yeah, I would refer to myself as an underdog only because everyone else was. I was like, okay, that's everyone else's term for me. But I never really thought it. I don't know. I mean, I guess we were the underdogs, but I didn't.
Yeah. Just when you compared lineups, I mean, on paper,
it
was on UCLA paper was clearly.
I mean, even TCU, FSU in some sense, So,
USC is gonna be USC though.
Hopefully.
4 straight would be pretty dang cool.
Well, don't talk too soon. We'll see.
Anything can happen. We're just gonna approach it.
It's a long process.
Same.
Yeah. Long process, but we're just gonna enjoy every bit of it because it's our last year. So, yeah.
Well, enjoy. It was great to have you guys on. Glad we made it work, especially before your schedules get crazy with your master's degree in USC and everything. It's great to have you guys on.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. This
glad
was so
Tri
great.
could make most of it too.
No, I'm glad we got him for a little bit. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for having us.
It's great.
Well, good luck in Manhattan and good luck in SC.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.